Hey guys, Haz here, Chilled Canine. So today we're going to progress the loose leash walking. If you haven't already watched my first loose leash walking video, you must watch it. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, because you cannot do this unless you've already done that. All right? So just a quick recap. In that video, we had the dog on a prong collar. Every time the dog would pull or make tension on the leash, you would just pop back on the leash. Okay, and the dog would come off the tension, and of course the leash would be relaxed. And the whole goal was to make a nice loose leash. There should be an obvious bend in your leash, right? So when the dog makes tension, the leash is straight and you feel pressure on your hand. When the dog is on a loose leash, you're going to see that bend in the leash. And I see a lot of people, believe it or not, this is the easiest thing probably that we train. And I can't tell you how many people just can't get it through their head. Like, they are constantly being pulled. It doesn't matter how many times you show them how to correct the pulling. They constantly allow tension on the leash. Here's why I don't allow tension on the leash. Not just because it's inconvenient, because it creates a problem in the mindset of the dog. So if you have a dog who has behavioral issues, this is the most important thing. If you have a dog that's just a normal dog that may be just a little bit disobedient, it's still important. Every problem, every issue that people have with their dogs, almost every one of them is attributable to loose leash walking. And I'm not kidding. It's weird, but that's what it is, okay? Every time I get a client, maybe they've trained with us a year ago, and all of a sudden their dog's doing this and that, and he's not behaving like he used to on the walk, and things are going downhill. I say, all right, come back. They get out of their car in the parking lot. What do I see? I see pulling on the leash. That's what I see. And it's just, and literally, I'll just take the leash, correct the dog properly a time or two for the pulling, and all of a sudden the problems are gone. And all of a sudden the dog is listening, he's sitting, he's heeling, he's downing, he's doing all the things that he knew how to do. The reason why loose leash walking is so important is because when your dog is pulling you on the leash, he is deciding to ignore you. This is the most fundamental connection between you and your dog. It's a physical connection. When there's no physical connection, what hope do I have of controlling the dog if I can't even control him when there's a physical connection between us? So when my dog, this is a conversation. When I pull on this leash, if he's ignoring this pressure, that's him ignoring me on the most fundamental level. And a lot of people accidentally teach their dog to do this. They desensitize their dog to pressure on the lead. And I am telling you right here and right now, almost every problem that people have with disobedience and with behavioral issues, aside from like things like resource guarding and so on and so forth, are attributable to allowing dogs to pull them on the leash, right? I can't tell you how many times clients bring their dogs to me, brand new client, never seen the dog before. Oh, he's reactive, he's crazy, he's so bad on the walks. I make loose leash walking, 99% of those problems go away. It's just that important, guys, right? You've already done loose leash walking on the prong collar, okay? And again, if you haven't done it, go back and do it. Do not skip that step. If you skip that step, turn this video off right now. This video is not for you, okay? Assuming you've done that, and assuming you've done your conditioning on the e-collar, okay? Recall, sit, down, and place. Assuming you've done that conditioning, now you can move on and do the loose leash walking with the dog on the e-collar. So the way that we do it is simple, all right? Every time the dog pulls into the leash, I mean, I have a regular slip lead on him. You can just have a regular leash buckled to his flat collar. That works too, okay? Every time the dog pulls and makes tension on this leash, I'm going to pop as if he was wearing a prong collar. But instead of obviously popping a prong collar that he's not wearing, I'm going to hit the button at the same time as I pop. All right, so I'm going to turn this down to 1 so he doesn't feel anything, okay? So let's assume that he pulled me. All I'm going to do is go just like that, okay? That's it. Now, he kind of knows the noise of the sound box, so he's kind of like, oh, okay, I better not pull. But hopefully when we get him out there, he starts pulling so I can show you guys a little bit about how we fix that. So pulling on the leash, guys, is the most fundamental thing. It is the biggest part of the warm-up, okay? Anytime you go somewhere new with your dog, whether you're leaving your house to go for a regular walk or you're taking your dog out of the car, the loose leash walking is the first thing I check. I make sure it's there. And almost every time we're going to have a problem on the walk, the loose leash walking is not there. So I fix it. I warm the dog up. I make sure he's loose leash walking. I apply the necessary consequences to him. And then once he's supple on the leash, once he's responsive on the leash and he gives to the leash, then I know that I can do everything else, okay? It's real simple. If he can't not pull me on the leash, he doesn't have anything left in his head for me. So telling him sit down, heel, all these types of things, for me it's redundant. I won't do it unless I have good loose leash walking. Now, if you're off leash with your dog, obviously this doesn't apply to you. We do something different for off leash. That's for another video. Now, let's talk a little bit before we get out there about the level that you're going to turn your e-collar to. Now, a lot of people ask, what level? Listen, when you popped your dog on the prong collar, okay, what level did it take to get your dog to stop pulling? And the answer is, for all of you, it was different. For some of you, you have very sensitive dogs. A little pop and that was enough. For some of you, you had to hammer away a couple times and really make a big consequence because maybe your dog is either physically tough or already desensitized to the prong collar because you didn't use it properly, okay? Whatever it is, it's going to be pretty close to similar with the e-collar. So if you, maybe let's say you have a dog who's pretty sensitive on the prong collar, well, you're probably not going to be much more than 10 on the e-collar, all right? But I don't want to hear, oh, Taz, I'm using 10 because he's sensitive and he's still pulling. Well, then he's not that sensitive. Turn it up. Almost every time, oh, he still pulls me on the leash. Turn it up. It's just that simple. When I pop him and hit the electric, I want to see that the dog goes, holy camoli, I don't like that. That wasn't nice. That's what I want to see. If he brushes it off and walks away from it and just does it again every couple seconds, he's telling you the consequence you're applying to me for pulling on the leash is not enough. This is one of the few times we train something with punishment, because basically what we're doing is we're punishing him every time he pulls on the leash. Every time he creates tension, I'm applying an aversive consequence to that tension. And that's because loose leash walking, we're not teaching him to do something, we're teaching him not to do something. I'm saying you can do literally anything except make this pressure. The second you make this pressure, I'm applying an aversive consequence to that pressure. And for me, it's in the clear method of a simple pop and a stim at the same time. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get him out there. And first I'll just kind of walk him around here on the field. Okay? I'm just going to walk him around on the field. And then if he's good here, I'm going to get him out on the sidewalk and we're just going to kind of walk around on the driveway a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can show you guys how we correct pulling on the leash. So for me, he's probably about an intermediate dog. So I'm going to turn it up to 30 because he knows better. He knows better than to pull. This isn't his first time. It's not his first rodeo. He's 4 weeks into training. If he pulls me on the leash, there is going to be a consequence that prevents pulling in the future. Okay? Now, if you have a dog, again, I can't say this enough. If your dog is a serial puller, every time you correct him, he stops for a little bit and then he goes back to the pulling. Turn it up, make a consequence. What some dogs will do is at the beginning of the walk, because a lot of people are naggers. You kind of henpeck your dog because you want to feel good about yourself. You don't want to go up and make that big consequence that's actually going to change the behavior. So you kind of henpeck the dog. And it's enough in the moment, but the dog always goes back to it. If I have a dog that likes to always pull a couple times in the beginning of the walk, what I do is I'll go way up on the first one. He pulls, boop, he gets that big mistake, big correction there, and then I'll go back down on the next ones, right? And usually there aren't really any next ones, okay? So, you're gonna watch me move the dog around. I'm just gonna move him around on the field, and you guys are gonna hear if I correct him, because of course we have the sound box on. So I'm gonna put it on a 30, because like I said, he's kind of like a medium level dog, and we're just gonna wander around. So, and he's allowed to smell, he's allowed to do whatever it is that he wants to do, but he is not allowed to pull. Notice how the leash is sitting in my hand, right? He can feel, he's not looking at me, he's not thinking about me, but believe me, he can feel that leash. So right here, I'm moving away from him. You see he wants to pull up the grass. I gave him a little pop there and a stim, okay? And now you see how he kind of reacted? I actually overestimated how much stim he requires. It was a bit of an aversive consequence, right? A little more than I wanted. That's actually okay, because still he shouldn't be pulling me, right? So I did go down. I went to like 20. That's all right. And now look how supple he is on the leash, right? Look how supple. Like the second he feels that leash, he's immediately moving with that leash. He's working to keep the leash loose. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go over there where there's less sun so I can look at the camera, and then we can walk the dog. Okay guys, so in the beginning, walks and stops. I can't say this enough. We do not talk to the dog for loose leash walking. The leash talks to the dog. So let's assume that I got him out of the car. This is the parking lot. We're about to go to the park. So what am I going to do? Walk, stop. And he pulled me. And again, and you can see he's auto healing. Break, go. I don't need you to heel. I just need you to not pull, right? Don't let your dog just kind of default to another behavior. I just need him to not pull. That's it. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk back and forth, change my direction. And you can see, and this brings me to another thing. So look, the leash is still loose. There's some pressure. Do not pull. It's that simple. Break. And what he's trying to do is he's saying, okay, I'll heel. No, no, no. You're not going to heel. I don't want you to heel. I have a pet peeve for people that do this. They just always keep the dog in heel. I need him to go and be a dog. I need him to smell the ground and to experience life. I just need him to not pull me in the process of doing that. And believe me, it's something that's quite reasonable to expect. So I don't let the dog go into the heel, and that's what a lot of them will try to do if you taught them to heel, is they'll go into the heel. I don't let them do any of that. I say, no, 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 you're going to get out there. You're just going to be careful on the leash. So whether I'm standing still or whether I'm moving, I expect a supple dog on the leash, okay? Now, don't do this. What a lot of people do is they walk with the dog, and the second they think he's going to pull, they bump him. Don't bump him for you think he's going to pull. Bump him for actually leaning into that leash, bracing against that leash, and pulling into it. Now, if he pulls into it and right away jumps off of it, don't correct him. That's him being good. Give him a chance, right? So look, tension, release. Good, good enough for me. So now we're going to go this way. Why don't you go in front and then just kind of walk backwards. All right, guys, so we're going to walk, break, 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 and stop. And we're going to walk, break, break. No heeling. Go on, get out of the heel. Good. We're going to walk and stop. And walk and stop. Change direction. Change direction. And you can see that the dog is paying attention to me. That's what I want. Break. And again, I don't need him to be next to me. I don't want that. I'm going to really make sure he doesn't stay next to me. And I just want the dog to be a dog, to smell, do whatever it is that he wants to do. But when he feels that, there you go. You see how he just came off of it? He felt it. He was like, uh-oh, better get off that. Good. And again, I'm going to stop. There's the pressure. And on his own, he came off the pressure. That's all I need. If I've got loose leash walking, it's the first thing I do for a reason. If I've got loose leash walking, I'm in his head. And if I'm in his head, I can ask for whatever else I need to ask for. But if I don't have loose leash walking, I don't ask for anything. A lot of people try to hide, a lot of people try to hide bad behavior in obedience. I refuse to do that, and I won't do that, right? I need the dog to behave well, whether it's not pulling me on the leash or not being reactive to other dogs, without having to hide the dog in obedience. I need the dog to be away from me and still be under control. Right? There's a lot of dogs. They're only good next to you. The second you get them away from you is the second they stop listening. So no, go be away from me. Be at a bit of a distance. But the second you pull me, there is a consequence. So here's another dog. Is he going to pull? So there's the pressure. On his own, he came off the pressure. Okay? And that's what I'm looking for. All right? I just want a dog who's nice and obedient and careful and respectful on the leash. So here, he got a little excited. He ran around a bit and he hit the end of the leash. On his own, he came off. Good enough. You see, I'm not merciless. I'm going to give him a chance that's reasonable. I can't just crack him for pulling me by accident. The only time that I'm going to correct him is when he braces into it. And he says, you know what? I feel the pressure. I don't care. I'm just going to keep going. So there's me stopping. There's him stopping. Change direction. Change direction. And not one word has been said to the dog, because I don't need to say a word to the dog. The leash and me are talking to him. The leash is talking to him, right? He feels this pressure, he's giving to the pressure. And I just can't say this enough, guys. This is, by the way, even if you're not really feeling pulled, you can hold the leash with 2 fingers. The leash is constantly like this. your dog's staying at the very end of it. What I do for that is I walk really fast and then I hit the brakes, and immediately he's going to pull into it, and I'm going to correct him for that. Don't let your dog stay at the end of the leash. Make sure that there is a bend in the leash. If you have a dog that's always playing kind of Russian roulette right at the end, make that a bad idea for him. Because again, that's a dog who's willfully choosing to not reserve a place in their mind for you, okay? I always need to have a space in his little head in order for this whole thing to work. So I'm telling you right now, loose leash walking is the reason why most people fail, right? It's the loose leash walking. Break. And I really hate to, especially with the fearful dogs, I can't say this enough, do not keep them next to you all the time. Let them go. Because if I can control my dog over there, and over there, and over there, I can control my dog anywhere. Next to me is the easiest place to control my dog. So I need him to go and behave himself everywhere. 360 degrees, 6 feet, 10 feet, 30 feet. I need that control everywhere. So, loose leash walking, I'm going to demonstrate with other dogs, of course, but you guys get the idea. So, in the beginning, couple steps, stop. Couple steps, stop. But if you've done this properly on the prong collar, believe me, you bump your dog a time or two on the e-collar, he's going to listen. He's going to be good. Remember that first correction I gave him? He kind of vocalized and jumped a little bit. It was a bit much. I just turned it down. It still wasn't a big deal because it's a consequence that's fair. He did do something wrong. He intentionally pulled me. So it's not bad in and of itself. Again, I just don't need to be that high for him, so I'm not going to be. Now, if he kept pulling me, so if he did it again and again and again, then yeah, like I already said already, we're going way high. I don't need to be bumping him on the e-collar every 3 seconds when we're walking him. That's not productive either. Okay, consequences should be few and far between. Otherwise, they're not really consequences. You're just nagging the dog. So this e-collar walking, especially for you guys, maybe you're a little small, maybe you're a little frail, maybe you've got some health issues, you got a big, strong dog, listen, once you go to this, it's a game changer. In some small circumstances, I will say this, in some small circumstances for clients that just couldn't physically do the prong collar work with the dog, I do the e-collar work, but only after I've conditioned the e-collar. So you can do the e-collar without doing the prong collar as long as you've conditioned the e-collar, okay? And you're gonna do it just as if the dog was wearing a prong collar. It's a pop and a stim. You don't just stim without the pop. Break. Obviously the pop doesn't have to be that hard, but it does have to be there because the pop is information to the dog. Go on, get out of the position. Go, you're not gonna heel. Good. Good. Right? And you'll notice too, a lot of people do this. The dog's gonna pull and they kind of go with the dog so he doesn't pull. I don't do that. I just stand here and it's up to him what he wants to do. If he chooses to pull, that's his problem. See, my hands is very easy. I should be able to hold a coffee and do this. I should be able to balance eggs on the palms of my hand and do this. Because that's how easy it is. If he's pulling on me, we got a problem. If you're wrapping the leash around your head, your dog is pulling you. And I can't say that enough. So that's it for loose leash walking today. There'll be more videos, so stay tuned. And again, I can't stress this enough. Get your loose leash walking right, or you won't have anything right.